everybody. Jeff Antoniuk here. Welcome to the Guided Listening, and this, of course, is always sponsored by Jazzwire. So we're going to dig into the Monk composition, Eronel, we'll talk about that in a second, played by the band Sphere. So the band Sphere, I don't know if you guys know about this group. It was a group that started in the 1980s with two Thelonious Monk alumni, the great Charlie Rouse on tenor sax, Ben Riley on the drums, and then two folks who hadn't played with Monk. That's Kenny Barron on the piano, Buster Williams on the bass. Buster Williams played with almost everybody in jazz. Monk was one of the few people that I think he didn't have an association with, but the list is incredible of the folks that Buster played with. I have had the good fortune of talking to Buster Williams recently. He's going to be joining us for the Jazzwire Winter Summit coming up in January 27 through 29, 2023. This is a workshop I would love for you to attend. We have these great super special guests: George Coleman on the tenor saxophone, Tia Fuller, another wonderful contemporary saxophone player. And then I'm going to be teaching at this, Paul Bolenbach on guitar. 3 days of working together. So now, if you're watching this, I know you love jazz. I know you're into finding out more about this stuff. You probably play, you're probably practicing. How about the luxury of doing jazz for 6 or 8 hours a day, 3 days in a row? It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yes, I get it. You'll have to spend some money. You'll have to take some time off work. You're going to have to negotiate something with the relationships in your life. It is such an incredible, powerful thing to think about and play jazz live. Yes, it's online, but we are playing together. You're hearing me. We are playing back and forth. I am hearing you. To be able to do this is incredible. I hope you take the opportunity. And yeah, we're going to get to talk to Buster Williams. So let's dig into the guided listening here. So I've been listening to a lot of Buster and a lot of George Coleman, getting ready for, the opportunity to speak with these masters. And I've always loved the band Sphere. And I remember really the very first bass player I remember being conscious of was Buster Williams. And it was on one of these Sphere albums. And the way he played, now it was the way the album was mixed, and I think it was sort of a direct bass sound. So it was a little more kind of mixed in your face, or the tone or the timbre sort of stuck out. Maybe that's not a great thing, but I could hear the bass. That was good. And there's some stuff that Buster does that really caught my attention, and that he wasn't just in the back, kind of cranking away back there. There were things that I would hear where he would sort of stick out of the texture in a good way that I thought were interesting. And as I go back and listen to more Buster Williams now, I'm finding those moments. Now, this band, Charlie Rouse is one of my favorite sax players. He played, for my money, my favorite sax player with Monk. Now, Coltrane played with Monk, and Johnny Griffin, and Phil Woods, and on, Sonny Rollins. Like, it's insane. But Charlie Rouse, how he played fit Monk's music to me, just fantastic. And, I'm not the first one to say it, but I certainly agree. Ben Riley, so swinging on the drums. Kenny Barron, one of the great, I don't know, do we call them modern piano players, but, that came through in the 70s, 80s, 90s to today, one of the true masters. So let's listen to this. This is Thelonious Monk's Aaronel. Wait a minute. Maybe not. So like 13 minutes ago, I learned that it was written by a guy named Sadiq Hakim, a piano player that I maybe I've seen that name before. So apparently he wrote the tune or part of the tune, and Monk added the bridge and something Aaronel. What the hell does Aaronel mean? It's Lenore backwards. So Sadiq wrote it for Lenore, and Monk kind of took it and, changed it up and added this and that and called it his own. So there you go. Way to dodge a lawsuit, Thelonious Monk. Okay. So let's jump into this and see what's going on with this recording. And if you're not aware of this band, they made, 5, 6 albums, maybe 7 albums. Great stuff. So here we go with Aaronel by the band Sphere. Okay, no melody. Or is this the melody? Well, sounds more like a piano solo. And it is. They start with the piano solo. So that's pretty different. Kenny Barron. And this is just great killer bebop. It's so swinging. Buster Williams on the bass, Ben Riley on the drums. And it's just so relaxed and swinging. So we start with a piano solo. Really interesting. So here's the top of the form. What's going to happen here? Okay, so that's the saxophone melody, but what's going on in the piano? He's still soloing. Very interesting. So we have the melody, but instead of comping, Kenny Barron continues to solo. Really different way to start a jazz tune. Every jazz song, and this is one of the things that people point out, like jazz could be a little more creative. We play the melody, we play 3 or 4 solos, we play the melody. 99 out of 100 jazz tunes do this. This one doesn't. Very interesting. Here comes the end of the melody. What happens now? Piano continues. Chorus of piano up front. Melody with the piano solo, piano continues. Now, if you're a jazz musician, you know we need to be sort of transcribing and stealing little ideas from players. Kenny Barron is so clear. He is someone to be checking out, whether you're a piano player, sax player, or whatever. Listen to Ben Riley on the drums. Is he playing a ton of fills? I mean, the snare drum is in there, but the cymbal, the insistence of the cymbal, that's the incredible part. How the cymbal is just unrelenting, it never stops. So there, some great snare drum work, but the cymbal never stopped. Some great fills, the cymbal never stopped. Great motivic stuff from Kenny Barron there. Cool, right there, booba-dooba-dooba-da. Kenny Barron started a really classic lick that we expected him to continue, and he went a different direction. So Kenny Barron is toying with us. I want you to know that. All right, what do we have now? Buster Williams. That, boy, the way he slides. That's a Busterism. And that. And that. Those are Buster things. The way he would slide. It's a fretless instrument, right? And yet so many bass players never take advantage of the fact that we can do those pitch glissandos, right? Buster would do that. And that. Da-ga-da-da-ga-da-da. That fast triplet, he's doing a pull-off with the string, I guess we'd call it. Something else Buster would do. So when I hear this, I'm taken back 40 years to just first discovering the bass. And again, think about Ben Riley. What's he doing? He's still on the cymbal, right? So there's little fills, but he doesn't leave the cymbal. So that's part of his style. Does that mean all drummers are not allowed to leave the cymbal, the ride cymbal? Well, no, we can, and plenty of drummers are off the ride cymbal for chunks of time. But for this style and for how swinging Monk was and Ben Riley, I think that's an important thing to remember. Okay, 2 choruses of bass solo. And finally, the sax solo. The sax solo is almost always first, maybe second. The bass solo is always last. Here it was, so they're really changing things up. Charlie Rouse. Such a personal, unique sound. And so he was coming, of course, from bebop. He was in that era, but there was also an older aspect to his playing and his tone. His articulations were often more rounded or kind of more like a swing era thing at times, but then he would play very short and precise stuff the way Monk would. So he was a fantastic combination. da do da. So he plays those short ideas, but then plays a long romantic phrase afterwards. He would really had a lot of differences in his articulation, I suppose. So he liked those ornaments. So a lot of that in that solo. Couple chorus solo, he had to have done those little ornaments 20 times. Gosh, probably more. So here's our head out. And now Kenny Barron is comping and doubling. Did you hear that Buster Williams? That crazy sliding around. Very personal. We almost never hear that from other bass players. Ron Carter, perhaps. And there's some moments when Ben Riley left the cymbal, or the hi-hat that he's on now, and did some fills with the melody. And interesting, those fills at the end, Buster Williams, usually it's the, big mouth tenor sax player who, does the fills at the end, or maybe the piano, but very cool that Buster took it. Did they organize that? I don't know, maybe. I'm guessing not. I think Kenny Barron on piano, Charlie Rouse in the studio heard Buster jumped in. Oh, he's going to do the fills there. Does it make sense for 3 people to pile in and everyone do fills at once on the last chord? If you're at a crappy jam session, yes, that's how it's done. The crappier the jam session, the more people are playing everything they know on the last note. It is so irritating. So yeah, if somebody's saying something on the last note, they're talking. Shut up. Don't talk. Right? So anyway, that was wonderful. And again, an example of like, ooh, the bass playing a fill. Ooh, the bass playing one of the earlier solos. Oh, the bass doing these sort of personal sounds I've never heard before. So I remember that really standing out. I remember looking like, wow, who's the bass player? That's weird. I'm not used to asking that question. This is back in the 80s when I'm listening to this band for the first time. So yeah, there's so much great stuff in there. I'm always interested in talking about the bass and the drums, because there are a lot of us that aren't bass players, drummers out there, and understanding more about what's going on. So listen to the track again. Listen to any jazz track now. Put something else on and listen to the cymbal and listen to how much that drummer is staying on the cymbal. Maybe if you listen to So What off the Miles Davis album, Kind of Blue, you're listening to Jimmy Cobb. And man, he is staying on that cymbal and he's playing so clean and so clear. Maybe you put on something with Jack DeJohnette where it's like, whoa, it's the other extreme where he's orchestrating with the whole drum set. Is one correct and one wrong? Absolutely not. They're different ways of playing, and also, different eras of playing. We could kind of argue, I suppose, too. So there we go. So Eronel by Thelonious Monk. The original recording, I think, is off the album Crisscross, the Monk album. Charlie Rouse is on that too, so certainly check that out. But I love the band Sphere, and of course, so excited to have Buster Williams joining us along with Tia Fuller and George Coleman and all these folks at the Jazzwire Winter Summit. So like I said, if you haven't done something in months or a year or 2 years ever, where you really get to dedicate a piece of time to doing music, there is nothing that is more powerful. And we've done hundreds, actually thousands of hours of online teaching over the last 4 or 5 years, well before COVID. We know what we're doing. It's an incredible experience. I know it may be hard to imagine how it works. Send me a note, leave a comment. We can talk about it. We only have 21 spots for this workshop. We're over half sold out. So it would be easy today for a handful of you to register, and we're booked up. Hope to see you there. Thank you very much for paying attention. And Thelonious Monk, let's go for it. Take care.